Welcome to Senior's Last Word. It's time for the new season. The Premiership season is just about underway, and it's time we go straight into the expectations. Arsenal, a team that missed out on the championship by just 2 points, is the team that I'm going to go for this time because what a season they had. In my opinion, they were as good as Manchester City last season. They could have won it. All it took was just one game if they had got the necessary points. And I believe they are the team again to look out for the 2024-25 season. Arsenal Football Club, the club that has been nearly for the last 2 seasons, one that I think if they do the right thing in the transfer market this season will go all the way. Just a second. Man City and Arsenal went against each other for the entire season, and in the last 6 weeks anything could have happened. It's only that City had the resilience to go all the way. Arsenal had the resilience too, but yeah, they faltered just once, and those 2 points were never going to be got. What did they do right last season? Because we are in transfer season right now. Transfer season last year, Arsenal did one good thing that everybody missed out on. They bought Kai Havertz and Declan Rice. Remember Declan Rice, the record breaker for the club, and everybody thought, how can you put so much money on the midfielder? Only to turn out in the season that Declan Rice and Kai Havertz, the 2 big signings of the summer last season, were very integral and very key to what I consider a successful season for Arsenal in as far as showing resilience and challenge for the title was concerned. Kai Havertz scoring 13 goals, being the second top scorer for Arsenal last season because Saka scored 16. And then a midfielder, Declan Rice, known as a defensive midfielder, never known before to be one that scores so much, turning out with how many goals, you guys, you will not believe this, because he scored 7 goals, and in terms of assists, he assisted 8 times. It means Mr. Rice contributed 15 goals to Arsenal cause last season. What a signing. Really worth the money that he paid for. And Havertz, one you thought was going to be a striker, was never really used as a striker by Mikel Arteta. He was used as a midfielder, and guess what? He did turn up with 13 goals last season. And how many assists? 7 assists as well. Now, that means the 2 signings for Arsenal last season were part of the reason why Arsenal went all the way, almost to the very death. Just a little of what they could have achieved had they done something right. What didn't they do right? What was their problem last season? I will tell you what it was, because their midfield was very, very good. In fact, for me, the Arsenal we are seeing today is because of their midfield. What a midfield they have. Odegaard, Havertz, Declan Rice, Saka. For me, that is the midfield that accounts for everything we are seeing of Arsenal today. Saka scoring 16 goals. I've told you, Havertz scored 13 goals. And believe me, I've told you that Rice scored 7 goals. And with that, if you consider that Havertz is a midfielder, you've got to think of Odegaard, because this guy Odegaard every season showing us what player he is. He contributed 10 assists last season. Yes, this season he wasn't so good in front of goal. He only scored 8. Last season, remember, he scored as many as what? 14, 15, 16 last season? I mean the season before. That means Arsenal has a midfield that scores goals, a midfield that assists. And by the way, in my book, the combination of Odegaard and Declan Rice as a central midfield pairing, for me, is as good as Rodri for Man City. In midfield, remember, is as good as Rodri and Mr. De Bruyne for Man City. That means they were at par. So what are we going to look at as we go for the new season? What should Arsenal do in the transfer market? That's our discussion today, because there is a lot to tell you about Arsenal, guys. If we consider the final table standings last season, Man City beating Arsenal by 2 points. 91 points from Man City, 89 points from Arsenal. That was close. Pretty close. But in the goals department, even with the Arsenal that Man City has, what I mean by Arsenal is the combination of Erling Haaland, Alvarez, Foden. Those guys scored jointly over 56 goals. They had too much in their fit in terms of the goals. Even with that, they finished the season only 5 goals ahead of Arsenal, who, for me, had a very poor striking department. Because when you have players like Nketiah, who comes from the bench, and at the end of the season, he can only score 5 goals. You have Jesus or Gabriel Jesus, who can only score 4 goals, assists 5 times. You have Martinelli, who last season only scored 6 goals. You are talking about the Arsenal front line last season that scored 6 plus 4 plus 5. That is 15 goals. Who does that when you want to win a championship? But that's what happened. So for me, when you consider that they were very poor in their striking department, yet by end season, they were only 5 goals short of Man City. That is some team. It means the strength of this Arsenal side is neither defense, midfield, nor attack. Their strength is in the team. Consider their midfield. Their midfield, if you were to go and look at the individuals in that midfield setting, in terms of the goals and the assists, you will understand why they're as good as complete in that department. They don't even have to touch anything in midfield. If I were Mr. Mikel Arteta in the transfer market this season, I'll only consider this fact. Haaland scored 27 goals. Foden scored 19. Alvarez scored 11 goals. That's a hell of a striking line. When they needed the goals from midfield, Bernardo Silva came in with 6. Mr. De Bruyne comes in with 4. But guess what? There is a player, Rodri, who is just incredible when it comes to the goal scoring. He scored 8. Now, what you had in Man City is very, very formidable in attack. Incredible. Having midfielders, as many as what? 6, 7 midfielders who score and assist at the same time. They had that kind of quality where even when once in a while 1 or 2 players go blank, they could call on that player from the bench to make a difference. Remember, City also had Jeremy Doku, who only scored 5 goals, but his assists coming in as well to help the team, 8 in total. So if you want a championship, I'll tell you a secret. Go for what they call a goal scorer. Because even in the hard games, when things are balanced, you need that man you can fall back to get that odd goal. Think about it. The teams that have recently won the Premier League, whether it is La Liga, whether it is Serie A, what is the most common characteristic with all of them? They always have a leading goal scorer, either 1 or 2. It's a standard. Let's go. Italy. Martinez, top scorer. Inter Milan, the winner of Serie A last season. When we go to England, Man City, champion. We have the great guy, Haaland, scoring 27 goals. When we go to Spain, 2 guys between Bellingham and Vinicius, both of them accounting for as many as what? 35 goals. They deliver the championship. Arsenal, for me, last season had a better defense, for example, than Man City. They conceded just 29 goals, as Man City considered 34. So for me, Arsenal is a very balanced side, as equally balanced as Man City. They've done it for 2 seasons. They're getting better every season. Only one thing they must do this transfer period, and I'm not going to go to that because we haven't yet had any major dealings there yet. If Arsenal can close their eyes, put the big money of that striker, because honestly, Nketiah and Jesus will never score the goals. They are not goal scorers in terms of prolific. They just need one prolific goal scorer. And you know what? For me, Arsenal are so good, so balanced, that with just that tweak, putting the big money, just the same way they did when they're bringing Declan Rice, putting the big money on that center forward, that guy who is liable for goals. Just that, it will be the difference between 2 points or 3 points, 5 points or 6 points next season. And with the team I've seen of Arsenal, they will be so good, they can take and push Man City all the way. Next season, who is going to push Man City all the way, having shown what they have in their locker last season, for 2 seasons now? It is Arsenal. And for me, I love the way they play. I love how they do it. I love that Mikel Arteta came with the same secret he got from Man City, replicating a lot of what Mr. Pep Guardiola does. We are seeing Man City doing the same thing. We are seeing Arsenal doing that. They are hungry. They want to win. They are going for it. And I'm telling you, from me, that Arsenal, I think if they can just do that, they'll be so good. I will rank them favorites to challenge City to the title. They are good. I'll be turning back, tell you more about Arsenal. I'm Aldrin Suga Senior with Senior's Last Word, and that's my last word.